like to call this meeting into February 16th, 2021 morning meeting in. Call pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Thank you, whose business. Thank you to all that's joined us this morning. If I can, Council, I would like for everybody to take just a brief moment of silence. We've lost 3 citizens in our area we know of from the harsh storms last night, and we don't know how many else. They're going door to door now. We have a big problem. We just needs a lot of prayers for our people that pray out there. We appreciate you. Just take a moment of silence, please. Okay. Does any member of council have a conflict of interest or the appearance of a conflict of interest with regards to any items of the agenda? If so, please state at this time. Mr. Phillips? Mr. Borman?
No.
Mr. Corbett?
No.
Mr. Nern?
No.
All right. Moving on. Amendment and approval of the draft agenda. Do I have any amendments to anything going on? Other than in closed session, we'll be adding A5. Anything else?
Nothing for me.
No. Nothing for me.
All right.
No.
Do I have a motion we approve the draft agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Closed session.
Session.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to call this meeting back to order. Coming out of our closed session, there was nothing, no results from back there. Going up next to our council discussions. Does anybody of council have anything?
Just one thing. Do you have something?
No.
Just one thing.
Go ahead,
Just let
sir.
you know that Committee to Honor American Veterans wants to work with the town to have a celebration for the 20th anniversary of 9/11. And so we're in the very early planning stages of that. But that'd be a good event with due consideration for where we are under COVID. So it's just letting you know that that's underway. So you can,
Councilman Borman, Councilman Nern, y'all have anything?
Nothing from me.
Councilwoman Harris, you have anything?
Nothing.
Okay, I just got a couple of things. First up, this is a letter from the town of Shallotte that I received. It says, Dear Mayor Phillips, early on the morning of February the 1st, 2021, there was a serious fire in downtown Shallotte. The town of Shallotte, in combating this fire, received substantial assistance from your fire department/office. The assistance enabled us to control the scene and avoid a larger fire, which would have resulted in significant damage to commercial buildings in Shallotte. I, the Shallotte Board of Aldermen, are very grateful for your assistance. In recognition of that assistance, I have enclosed a proclamation recognizing this support. Proclamation reads as, whereas early on the morning of Monday, February the 1st, 2021, the town of Shallotte experienced a major fire at 4637 Main Street, affecting the Shallotte Vision Center and Sugar Confection Bakery, and whereas the fire threatened several adjacent buildings, and if not contained, would have resulted in significant property and possible loss of life, and whereas the Shallotte Fire Department and Shallotte Police Department arrived on scene within 4 minutes of receiving the fire alarm, and their prompt arrival was key in containing the fire, and whereas, due to the severity of the fire, the town of Shallotte received mutual aid from the Sunset Beach, Ocean Isle Beach, Shallotte Point, Supply, Winnebago, Bolivia, Civitown, Tri-Beach, and Horry County Fire Departments. And whereas, since the building was on Main Street, which is heavily traveled, especially during the morning rush hour, there was need to establish a significant traffic control perimeter. And whereas the Shallotte Police Department and the Shallotte Maintenance Department promptly set up appropriate traffic diversion routes that minimize traffic congestion problems. And whereas Brunswick County EMS and Fire Marshal, together with personnel from the Brunswick County Sheriff's Office and the North Carolina Highway Patrol, promptly arrived on site and rendered significant assistance in dealing with this fire. Now, therefore, I, Walt Eckert, Mayor of Town of Shallotte, North Carolina, as authorized by the Shallotte Board of Aldermen, on behalf of the town of Shallotte and its citizens, gratefully recognize all the persons and department that assisted in dealing with this serious fire in a way that resulted of no loss of life or serious injury. It was proclaimed on the 10th day of February, 2021. Appreciate our fire department stepping up, helping out our fellow communities, and also ones that have just joined us now. If you don't know, there was a tornado that touched down in our area last night. We had, when I came in this morning, we have 3 confirmed deaths. They were going out doing door-to-door searches, so we haven't had an update from there. Just please remember those in your prayer.
could we ask police and fire, do they have any updates?
Yeah, police, fire, do y'all have any updates for us at all on that? On the tornado this morning, have y'all heard any more?
I think the latest 3 fatalities, like you said, and then somewhere around 50 houses damaged or destroyed, 10 other injuries. But it's going to be an ongoing operation. 904, I know, shut down. Pretty much Ocean Ridge is shut down to anybody unless they got credentials to get in there. Our crews responded. 2 engines, 2 deputy chiefs went to Ocean Ridge, and then we had a bunch of other calls going on in Sunset Beach at the same time. So the crews that went to Ocean Ridge and assisted in there did a great job, faced with not only fatalities, severely injured, devastation. So they performed well, and as we expect them to.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Chief Ken, do you have anything? Nothing up? Okay. All right, moving on. Presentation, our dredging project update. Robert Neal, which I don't see Mr. Neal here. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Apologize, I didn't recognize you. Go ahead, sir.
Morning, council, and it was news to hear about the tornado last night, and definitely those people bring them up in our prayers. But as far as the dredging project, I wish I had clarity for a path forward this morning. However, I do have some good news, but clarity I cannot, as far as a path forward, will not be able to provide. We were able to open bids last Thursday. The 11th was our second advertisement. So the first bid opening, we did not receive 3 bids. Therefore, under North Carolina law, we had to re-advertise for 1 week. Therefore, on the 11th, we opened bids. We received 2 bids from very, what I believe to be experienced and qualified contractors. They were very close in price, approximately $60,000 apart. The low bid being $1,524,955. This is for the South Jinks Creek portion, the hydraulic dredging and nearshore placement. In our bid documents, we proposed to hold the bids for 10 days, that we would make a decision on whether or not to move forward by essentially this Friday. That we would, whether or not we would award the contract for this season or negotiate something perhaps for next season. That is, the contractor is very open and willing to negotiate with us. He's not worried if it's this season or next, or how the town wants to proceed. However, we do not have permits to proceed at this point. We were told back in early December or mid-December that we would have permits within 30 days after we submitted comments. That 30-day period ended today, the 11th, and we do not. It ended on the 11th. So when we opened bids. As of today, we still do not have permits. Talking with CAMA and the state, they do intend to issue this week their permits. DWR has no concerns. We've addressed with the turbidity monitoring. We believe that they will issue as submitted. CAMA as well. We believe they will issue as submitted. The Corps, as always, is the one we expect that they will issue as submitted too. We have heard no significant concerns, no concerns at all really, since we've submitted the information on approximately January 8th. But we do not have a permit in hand from any of those 3 agencies. Each of those, like I said, the CAMA and DWR we expect to issue this week, and the Corps we expect and hopeful. We know they are working on it. We know they are, but we are hopeful. I should say at best hopeful for a permit by the end of the month. And so we are, as I believe, in the negotiation phase, should prepare to enter into the negotiation phase with the contractor as far as when and how this project could be completed, or how much of this project could be completed this season if we wanted to construct by the end of March. We do have from CAMA, we are already realizing that we did not get the permits on time as they initiated we would. We have already suggested that started the discussions that this could require an extension into April. We have support, at least from staff level, from CAMA for that. However, I'm highly doubtful that we would get any additional time beyond March 31st. So I expect our operations would need to stop by April 1st. The contractor is, in best case scenario, could finish the project in roughly 16 days. So we have time. He would have an additional 10 days to mobilize. So total work time in perfect conditions is 26 days. However, nothing in this project's been perfect. So we're expecting it. I would anticipate we would need at least 1 month, 30 days of actual dredging time, and then 10 days to mobilize prior to that. Which is pretty much, as I said, we would need to make a decision this Friday I believe, to reasonably expect to complete it by the 30th, but again, by the end of March. However, by the contractor's expectations, he could finish it if we gave the go-ahead by March 1st. And then it would just be a matter of negotiating and seeing how comfortable the town was and moving forward. But as we stand, we have bids. Where we are today is we have bids, have a bid received for $1,524,955. I am not prepared to recommend that we award or issue a notice to proceed for that. However, we are still following up with CAMA, DWR, and the Corps as far as when permits could be received. And once we know more affirmative when that date is, I would recommend we begin negotiations with the contractor as how much or when this project can be completed. So that is essentially my update for today.
All right, any members of council have any questions for Mr. Neal? Mr. Mormon? Got
Robert,
one?
so the bid costs that you've gotten so far, is that within your expectations for what you had?
My expectations for this, because of the schedule and the rushed, we wanted a lot of work done in a short period of time. Initially, I thought this project could be 1.2 million, assuming that we gave ample notice for the project. Because of the rush schedule and we didn't the notification and not expecting an extension into April, I raised that estimate to 2.2 million, figuring that the contract would try and bring in a larger dredge and also cover for perhaps a second mobilization cost, having to come back in November. So my expectation was around 2.2 million that this project would cost. The bids came in at 1.52. So considerably less than what I anticipated. Also, with two bids, they were $60,000 apart, which at a cost of 1.5 million, and only being the two bids being approximately $60,000 apart is very competitive in my opinion. So I was very pleased with the bids as they under the circumstances. And yes, they are, in my opinion, lower than what I expected.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Phillips, you got any comments? Mr. Corbett, you got any comments?
Yeah, so to understand clearly, the Corps of Engineer permit decision is the one that you're really less confident that it'll make it by Friday.
Yes.
But if it happens within the next week or so after that, before the end of the month, we still have a shot of getting the dredging done this month,
Yes.
or this season before the 31st of March.
Yes, I believe there will be a discussion as to what could be done this year. If we cannot award past, if we don't know affirmative the status by Friday, the status of the Corps permit by Friday, I believe there's still a potential to complete the entire project this year by March 31st. But we would need to bring in the contractor and confirm that.
Okay, and to be clear, that's the entire South Jinks Creek contract.
Yes, that is the entire South Jinks Creek.
And we've known for a long time that we were not going to do the full contract, full dredging project in one fell swoop this year,
Yes, no, we did.
this spring.
We anticipated, we're aiming to do the entire South Jinks project. That is, I'm going to take this off just for a second so I can speak. We anticipate doing the entire South Jinks project, 49,300 cubic yards. However, we did, when we bid this project, we understood that there was a rush schedule, and to try to accommodate that concern, we reduced substantial completion to 35,000 cubic yards. What that means is we reduced the channel width from 100 feet wide to 75 feet wide in order to substantially complete the project. Substantial completion would waive liquidated damages. We put in, if the contractor achieved 35,000 cubic yards, in other words, created the channel 75 feet wide through South Jinks Creek, then that would satisfy the contract requirements. We are still very confident at this point that it could be done if we receive permits by Friday, that could happen, that would happen. We are allowing and want the contractor to complete the entire 100-foot wide channel, the full design intent. But I did want to clarify, we did minimize the project to a 75-foot wide minimum acceptance prior to the bid solicitation because of the short schedule. So there is some confusion there, but yes, we expect the full design, the full project to be built if we can receive permits. We expect a 75-foot channel to be built if we can receive permits by this Friday.
Would the other 25-foot be done in a second mobilization in the fall?
It could be done in a
Or
second
you-
mobilization. That would be a town decision. It would be an additional cost to the town, but it could be done.
So these guys are actually bidding to do a 35,000 cubic feet project, not a 49,000 cubic feet project.
Yes. Yes, because 75-foot channel instead of a 100-foot channel. Yes, wide. And that was to alleviate the timing concerns of knowing that we would have to quit dredging by April 1st, or anticipating that we would have to quit dredging by April 1st. Once they're here and the opportunity, if they were ahead of schedule or and productions were better than anticipated, then we would anticipate they would complete the project to 100 feet wide and the 49,300 cubic yards. But minimum requirements were 35,000 cubic yards.
So the permit would allow them up to 100 feet wide?
Yes.
And so if we don't get it done this spring, would we do the full 100 feet starting in the fall?
That is an option, yes. And I've asked for what that additional price would be and expect to have that by Friday. If a second mobilization essentially is what we're asking for, to come back and if we do what we can this season, and then come back in November to finish, that is the additional cost that I'm asking for a price for, yes, from the contractor.
And the downside to the 75 versus 100 is that it would require maintenance more frequent?
Yes. There would be alleviate the majority of the navigational stress this year now. However, it could potentially not complete the entire design, the extra 25 feet.
Okay, I'm clear.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead, Councilwoman Harris.
so what happens if we don't get the permit by Friday? Permit approval by Friday?
Then we are in the negotiation phase with the contractor as far as to how the town wishes to move forward. There's no financial risk if we just don't award. If once we award and issue the notice to proceed is the only time that a financial risk is applied to the town. So if we don't get permits and the project doesn't occur, there's no risk as far as the construction contract. There's no financial risk to the town.
Would we have to rebid this for the fall with them, recompete it?
We would not. These bids, we could negotiate with the low bidder to construct in the fall.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
are you planning to station equipment prior to permit approval?
That is an option. There is an option if we want to mobilize the contractor without permit approval. We can definitely do that. The problem, we cannot turn on the dredge, so to speak. But
Are you planning to do that?
I am not planning to recommend that until I am confident where the permits stand. If I was confident that we would get a permit and when we would have that permit and what that permit would say, then that might be a recommendation. Actually, that would be a recommendation if I thought it would move this project forward. However, with the Corps of Engineers and this being Sunset Beach, the project that we all experienced for the last 4 years, at this point, I would not recommend that until we are confident and comfortable with where the permit status is for the Corps of Engineers.
Councilman Nern, you got any questions?
No.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead, Councilwoman Harris.
I have a question about why does this bid request just specify only South Jinks Creek? Especially when the grant is for the whole project, why would you not bid out the whole project?
That was the type of equipment that would be used. South Jinks Creek is the only portion of the project that requires hydraulic dredging, and that was the portion of the work that seemed to be the most important for navigation, to relieve the navigation stress. So we focused on North Jinks Creek. South Jinks Creek, because it also connected the feeder channel in the Bay Area. There was enough time to complete South Jinks Creek with the hydraulic portion of the work. The majority of South Jinks Creek, the larger portion, would require mechanical dredging, which is an excavator on a barge. The timing was not, 1 month would not be enough time to substantially complete that project in any fashion to identify all 3 areas that would be dredged, the Bay Area, the feeder channel, and then the Turtles and Marys Creek. So we focused on South Jinks Creek because that would, the logistics of the construction sort of separated that portion from the rest of the project.
Just a comment.
Go ahead.
I think that's been the planning direction that we've been going in for at least the last year, very clearly having 2 phases of this project is just my understanding of this program. You know, so it's not a surprise that we only put out a bid for South Jinks Creek. We recognize clearly that there was not nearly enough time before the end of March to also get the dredging done in the rest of the project.
Yes.
I just got one question for you, Mr. Robert, to make sure I'm right on this. I understood you to say that the bid is 1524 would change. And when that bid was set out, was that bid sent out for that 75-foot originally, or was it for the 100?
75.
It was just for the 75. Okay,
Yes.
and you was estimating that 2.2 that you said you was figuring that was based at 75, not the 100.
2.2 was 100, yes.
2.2 was 100.
So there is some,
So when you knock that 25% off, it's basically back to where you expected it to be then.
it's in there, yes. If we left that.
That's all I got for you. Anybody else got anything else?
No?
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you very
Yes,
much.
sir.
Actually, one question actually is for Lisa. So at this point, assuming the bids come in, will we have to meet again to give approval for this project to go forward?
Yes, sir. You would
Yeah.
have to call a special meeting to award the bid,
Okay, we do a special.
award the contract.
We would not wait till the 1st of March, assuming we have a Corps of Engineer.
Correct.
And so if the Corps of Engineer gives us a approval on Friday, you'd call a meeting for the middle of the week as soon as we can legally do one, right?
Correct.
Thank you.
Mayor, I did want to
Go ahead,
clarify.
sir.
The bid price is
Yep.
for the full 49,300. So the 1.5 covers the 49,300 cubic yards. However, for the project to be complete, they only have to dredge 35,000. So that price would come down based on the cubic
That's
yards.
what I want to know, because like I said, you just said that 1.5, if that's at 75, then you said that we would have to renegotiate for the extra 25. But then
Right.
when you told me that it was for the 100, if it only does 75, it will not be the 1.5.
Their project will be complete at 35, but they would be paid less than 1.524, whatever. So the 1.524 is for the full project.
Yeah.
It's for
I wanna
100%,
clarify
or 100
that.
foot.
100-foot wide project.
Which
75
includes
foot.
the mobilization, the actual dredging, and then the turbidity surveys and studies
Yes,
after that.
yes.
So the actual cost, the mobilization is the same, unless we have to mobilize twice,
Yes.
which would be if we split the project and did it in the fall. But it's just the different volume that gets pumped gives us a different price.
Yes, they get paid per cubic yard at their rate. So whatever they don't dredge, that price is reduced.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Councilwoman Harris.
d- do you plan to, do you have the permission of the property owner, where you plan to, position the equipment?
We will need to, on the beach, we will need to stay below mean high water for the pipeline and equipment. We believe Palm Cove has indicated they will grant an easement to work on the beach there. We're getting that finalized. We have also the staging area. I believe we have easements for use of that for Majestic Oaks. And that's just a simple, needs to be signed. But to answer the question, we do not have authorization at this point, but we're confident that we will be able to achieve that. And then if not, we will have to use an access way, or we have to stay below mean high water and work from the water.
All right. Any further questions, comments?
No.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on, our public comments on agenda items only. I think we have one in the back at least.
Good morning, Town Council. This is Todd Rademacher representing Riptide Builders. Appreciate the opportunity to talk. Just want to touch base after the February.
Need your address.
790 Unit 6, Sunset Boulevard, Sunset Beach, North Carolina.
Go ahead, sir.
Want to take the opportunity to thank you all for your actions and comments at the February 1st meeting, where you instructed staff to look at a collaborative way with C-Trail developers to move forward with the future land use map, identifying our future land use plans, and working in a collaborative manner towards solutions. While we don't 100% agree with the UDO amendments as currently crafted, we are excited about the opportunity to work with the town and staff to come up with a solution to some of our concerns and eliminate some of the concerns of the citizens, especially in regards to our development. As of this date, we still have not had any communication in regard to when that opportunity to discuss the UDO, our future plans for C-Trail and Sunset Beach. So we're just excited to have that opportunity. Looking to hear from staff or council, planning board, whoever that might be, and have an opportunity to discuss this and any opportunities we have together in the future. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Is that the only one, ma'am? Okay. All right, moving on, old business, discussion of the MR3 multifamily to the special use permit notifications publication. Mr. Chad.
Morning, Mr. Mayor, Chair, or morning, Mr. Mayor, Board. February 1st, I was absent for the meeting, and we are coming before you this morning to just kind of clarify the direction that we had moving forward. I know the public hearing is set for March 1st. I just wanted to fine tune the direction and the motion that was made on that February 1st meeting to set the public hearing and to move forward with any kind of action.
Who's got questions? Any member of council got questions for Mr. Chad?
None from me.
None for you?
Not for me.
Borman?
Nope.
Mr. Corbett?
Yeah, I'll take advantage of this opportunity to ask at least one question. The proposed change in the special use permit
Yes, sir.
was not just identifying MR3, but it also identified all the other places in our town where multifamily units could go in.
Yes, sir. It would.
That was not a key part of the discussion. All the parts were pretty much clearly MR3 until you looked at that one page and saw the lineouts.
Correct. We're looking to move multifamily development across the board in all zoning districts that it is allowed currently to a special use permit.
So everything would be under this same permit.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Councilman Phillips?
And there are also, just to be clear too, there's a variety of types of applications that would require special use permits as well, just not specifically multifamily.
Correct.
So this is not an anomaly. It's not a one-off thing. It's something
Yeah.
that occurs within the town on a regular basis.
Correct. Anything in section 6, if you look at that table of use, I don't have it in front of me, but if you look at that table of use and you see anywhere you see an S, that states that a special use permit is required.
That's how I was understanding. I just wanted clarification.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Harris, do you have anything for Mr. Chad?
I have nothing.
Okay. There's no further comments? All right, I think we move on. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Next up will be our discussion action from the Parking Regulations Enforcement Program.
Mayor, I'm sorry.
Go
If I
ahead.
could, in the February 1st motion that was made by Mayor Pro Tem Corbett, there was direction given to meet. Chad and I would like clarification on if you still would like us to meet with someone, and if so, who?
Councilman Corbett, do you have that?
Yeah, well, the key part of that meeting was to kind of resolve the differences, at least for everybody's understanding, between the future land use plan from our 2017 CAMA land use plan book with the current extent of the developments being programmed in the Sea Trail area specifically, as well as perhaps other areas. So to be clear what parts of MR3, what are our concerns in MR3? And part of that was because beyond the decision to go to the special use permit, we have future discussions and future decisions to be made in terms of things like the density, the size of the lots, other definitions inside of MR3. And so the idea was to get a clear identification of what are the lands and the types of lands that are being applied to. In hindsight from the past, part of the discussion that I would be interested in hearing is what protections would fit in to be protecting the golf courses from being changed from the recreational golf courses into some other use. Now, I don't think that there's a short necessary timeline on this, but within the next month or so would be a time to sort of have a discussion, compare the maps, and get the views of what's happening on the what the future of the golf courses would be like, just to make sure that the concern is to make sure that they stay golf courses.
Okay, so you're requesting that we meet with golf course owners.
And developers in and around the golf course would be part of it also, yes.
Okay. Are
So
you-
the Sea Trail developers plus the golf course owners. The golf course owners also have, I think, other plots of land inside the Sea Trail area that are under consideration for development. So the idea is get all that stuff clear. Is that clear enough?
I mean, I know that this is a large, complex type of project that we've got multiple inner workings, and there was some confusion, rightfully so, at the tail end of that meeting. And, kind of how I recall we ended it is staff would take a look at the future land use map in comparison to that Sea Trail plan as a first step, and not necessarily, try to meet with X person or this other person, but prior to that meeting, we would at a minimum have in your staff report, the future land use map and that Sea Trail map in some level of comparison. If we're mistaken on that, and there are entities that perhaps we need to meet with, we can do that over time. But I know that it was sort of a circular type commentary about what are the next steps, and I think, if I recall, we kind of arrived on, staff can pull this information without necessarily having to engage so-and-so. But, please direct us otherwise if I can do that.
Well, I'm not so sure that this is necessarily should be a direction, a directive to the staff. These are, they're questions, if you will. I have questions. I'm not sure about the rest of the council members. Is how do we take a broad look at everything that's going on in there? What is being planned? Does it fit our past land use plan? And does it have the protections? When I look at the big map of primarily the Sea Trail area, there's lots of areas to be developed. I have a personal concern that for the benefit of our whole community, the golf courses that we have should be protected to the extent that we can protect them. And so one of the steps in doing that is ascertaining what are the long-term plans that the developers have there along those lines.
And I think that's critical and important. But if I may, perhaps that's something that we should look at as part of, there's 3 tasks involved, and not necessarily, this particular task, as of right now, only the special use permit.
Yeah, I don't see this as directly affecting the special use permit.
Okay.
But it is
So
going
part of
forward.
That, as part of that longer term, if there
Yes.
is going to be some rezoning or modification of the map, staff needs to perhaps understand who those individuals, stakeholders may be to engage, and then keep you up to date on, if and when we're, going to have those meetings.
What is the stance of the other 4 council members on this?
As far as the golf courses go, we need to change the zoning there so there'll never be residential on there. I know it's a lot of land and probably looks, attractive to build on, maybe not in the next 5 years, but, we have to look far into the future for this zoning and what the town wants to do. And I think once we decide what we want, then that's time to meet with those developers and see how they're going to work into what we want. We're not going to work into what they want. And this wasn't my attitude a week ago till some things happened. And to me now it's become a matter of trust. So we have to look out for our citizens first. Once Sea Trail is fully developed, however we decide we want it to be, then the developers are going to leave. And we're going to be left with what's there. Everything we do with this has to be concerning our citizens that are here right now and their quality of life.
Councilman Borman, you got anything?
My comment on this is, we had started this discussion some time ago, a focus mainly on the ETJs. And that has changed now with the realization that the MR3 zoning encompasses not just the ETJs, but a lot of the residential areas, including the golf courses and such. So we do need to look, especially longer term, at how we maintain those areas, how we ensure that though our ordinances may permit certain things to happen that were developed some time ago, do they reflect now what we want to do now for the town and our understanding of where we want to go? So the direction is more, I think, to look to see what we want in the future and how does it fit first with what's allowed, and then whether what's allowed is really what we want to end up with. if that provides any clarity to the direction for the town, but that's my comment of what I'm trying to accomplish.
Councilman Phillips, go ahead.
So I think we can all agree, we're probably looking at a longer-term zoning issue that's going to take some time to work through. But as far as regarding the previous meeting and direction to the staff, I don't think we need to give them a directive to proactively seek out certain corporations or groups to interact with them directly at this time as a directive from the council. I mean, if there's interaction between these groups and the staff as course of business, fine, but I don't think there needs to be a directive for this to occur. That's my stance.
Councilwoman Harris, you got anything?
I agree with Councilman Phillips.
All right. Any more questions? All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate y'all.
Thank
voting.
you.
Thank you.
Now, moving on to our discussion action parking regulation enforcement program. Chief Claymore, go ahead, sir.
Make sure it's still morning before I greet you. Good morning. At the last council meeting, presented several options to the board. Just kind of food for thought, if you will, some proposals of what we could possibly do. Felt that after leaving that meeting that the idea of an outside agency to handle this for us was off the table. That left you with two possible solutions or recommendations rather for to kind of get a handle on parking as we go forward.
All right. Council got any questions? I think everybody knows the two proposals that y'all chose to leave in there, which one was where they would hire basically volunteer type things. They would be a paid position, but it would consist of 8 people, if I'm not mistaken, sir.
Yes, sir.
And would be buying vehicles, would be putting somebody over that at the cost of around $85,000, give or take, to get the start up. And the other option, if I'm not mistaken, number 5, was in regards to hiring 2 police officers, which would be handling this parking from a 7 to 7 basis, tied in for at least the Memorial Day to Labor Day area, and then extends from there, I guess, according to the weather, how we handled that.
Correct.
But then those officers would retain through our police department and be 12-month employees, which would ultimately give us 2 more officers on duty at all times during regular year. Correct?
That's correct. The proposals that were left on the table were to kind of model something after Beach Patrol and to have seasonal employees that would have been supervised in-house. And then the second proposal was, as the mayor indicated, to add 2 additional full-time police officers that not only would one person be assigned from at least Memorial Day to Labor Day to address parking issues as they occur on the island, but they're also available to handle parking issues throughout town. They can handle police-related calls for service throughout town. And of course, as problems would arise on the island, if they try to correct a parking matter and it's an impaired driver, they can take enforcement action on that, where seasonal employees would not be able to do that. They'd be armed with a cell phone and they'd have to call 911 like any other civilian.
Question.
Go ahead, sir. Councilman Nairn.
If we go with hiring 2 additional police officers, how much time saved from now until we had them on board and working?
I have interviews lined up tomorrow for a vacant position that I currently have, not for these. If it is approved, then of course, we're going to get ahead of it. 2 of the people that we're interviewing are currently in basic law enforcement training. They don't take their state test until April 1st. So if we have everything ready to go by the time they hopefully pass their state test, if they're offered a position, hearing back from training and standards to appoint a 3-month FTO, it's going to put us a little bit behind the curve. Here that we are in the end of February to try to hire some people. I'm hopeful that I could bring in some people with experience and the FTO process would be a lot quicker. But we'll do our best to try to manage the parking the best that we have been with the staff that we currently have. It is going to take some time to get additional officers up and running. No different if the council decides that they want to go with option 1 and hire seasonal staff. I've got to advertise for that. and it's going to take some time.
Either one's a process.
Yes, sir.
All right.
I don't know how my fellow council members feel, but right off the bat, I say we should go ahead and start now and get moving with hiring 2 more officers.
If we're gonna do that, if I'm not mistaken, we gotta do a budget amendment. Is that correct, Lisa? We would have to do a budget amendment to get to that section.
You wouldn't have to do it today, but yes, you would have to do a budget amendment.
Where's the rest of the council stand?
I think the best option, clearly the 3 vendors are not an option. And I like the idea of having versus staff. I like the idea of having uniformed officers around, especially as our town continues to grow. So that's the avenue I'd like to go with. And I think I agree with Charlie. Like, I'd like to move forward with this as quickly as we can.
Councilman Borman?
I agree with that, with that approach, with the understanding that those officers would be dedicated to the island for the beach season, so to speak, a memorial through Labor Day, I guess.
Yes, sir.
And I think it makes absolute sense to have them on board for the rest of the year as well. So I'm in favor of that.
Councilwoman Harris?
I have no comment.
Councilman Corbett?
I agree that the best solution is to hire 2 additional policemen at this time. Do that. And we do that, we recognize that we have, well, I guess first concern, absolutely number 1, is that if we're doing a policing type action, we should have pretty much as close to fully equipped, prepared, trained police officers doing that type of action. Not one of those where we have somebody who's going to have to pick up a radio and say, come help me quick. So I like that part of it. I like the part that for the other 3/4 of the year, these officers are part of the patrol pattern and work here within the town. Because I think, as you've pointed out before, and as we continue to grow, our number requirements are going to increase a little bit, and this kind of eases us in. And number 3, the patrols we have now, the officers we have on duty now, can kind of fill the gap as the new officers come on board, get their equipment, get trained, go through their break-in period for becoming part of our police department. So I would go for that too. My question is that coming out of this year's dollars or next year's dollars? Well, it has to come out of this year's dollars if we're going to.
Because it would start early.
It'll depend on how quickly he gets them hired. We anticipate that it would be in this budget that we're currently in. And then Tara would need to look at the salary line items for the police department and determine if a budget amendment is needed.
With all that being said, do I have a motion?
I have
Go ahead,
one thing
sir.
I'd
Go
like
ahead.
to add,
Go ahead.
if I may. The proposal 1 also came with, I had asked about a supervisor for that unit, and I'd also mentioned an administrative assistant. I'd like the council to consider that even with the second option. A promotion would realign some of the current staff that we have, and it would save us roughly $4,500 a year in on-call pay for that position that we would eliminate. A promotion would be roughly $5,000 to $6,000, depending upon the employee that was selected for that. So it would kind of be a wash to have a supervisor, an additional layer of supervision. An administrative assistant with the extra officers, with the somebody being dedicated to writing traffic citations is still going to create a workload back in the office once the parking tickets are entered. Phone calls are going to continue to come in, people saying, I don't understand why I couldn't park on the sidewalk. Having a part-time administrative assistant similar to what the fire department has would be highly beneficial with the extra workload.
That's year round, or is that a
The-
quarterly or
The
6
admin
months deal? What's
assistant,
the-
I would ask for a part-time permanent, so a year round. And then, of course, the promotion would just be of the existing personnel. just kind of a shift and a reorganization, if you will. Not a whole lot of extra cash.
Would that part-time administrative assistant be a volunteer or salaried?
It would be an hourly employee.
And how, had you projected the cost for that?
I did, and I don't have it with me, unfortunately.
It was in that initial report, I remember.
It was, and I only brought the summary pages with
Was
me.
it maybe, Lisa, was it around 14 maybe? I think it was something 14 or something. You got it?
12 to 13,000.
12 to 13.
Ready for a motion?
Got the motion?
I think.
All right.
I move that we go ahead and hire 2 additional full-time police officers, at least one to be dedicated to parking on the island, and island issues during our season, and that we make a promotion from within the department for a supervisor, and hire a part-time administrative assistant to work these parking tickets and whatever additional duties they may have.
Do I have a second?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
What would the supervisor do under this scenario with the hiring of the 2 additional officers now? That the change before was to manage the seasonal employees.
Correct.
So what would the supervisor do now instead?
The supervisor, my intention for that, and I even brought that up in the last budget year, would be to oversee the entire patrol operation. In addition, with the creation of this new position that's going to be instructed to spend a lot of time on the island to ensure that that's being done as expected, make sure there's no gaps in coverage, and like I said, just kind of oversee the entire operation, because currently we have line level supervisors, and the line level supervisors, their direct report is to the assistant chief of police. And the assistant chief, with the administrative duties that him and I take care of, we're kind of detached from the patrol division. I want somebody that's more involved with the patrol division, with the day-to-day operations. They can make sure that the job is being done as expected.
So there's no one between the assistant chief and the rest of the...
There is not.
the
No, it's the
patrolmen.
2 line level supervisors, and then the next person in the chain of command is the assistant chief. And we handle a lot of time in our day is spent with administrative and clerical type duties, to be honest with you.
So that supervisor would also have a patrolling duties and
Correct.
such as well?
Correct.
Okay, I understand. And one other point of clarification, you said with 1 officer being dedicated to the island, I thought it was 2.
I thought that's
2.
what the chief had asked for.
But they would always be 1 at a time. Somebody would be handling the parking
Right,
at
they
all
would-
times, yeah. But
right.
2 officers, but 1 would be on duty doing parking
That's
each
the
day.
way that you
Two
defined it when you
hires, but 1 person will be assigned.
Right, okay,
Every day, yeah.
Correct.
understood.
7 days a week.
Okay.
And would they be, you work 12-hour shifts, right?
Correct.
So we'd pretty much have 24-hour coverage for parking on the island.
No, sir.
No.
No.
We'd need 4 people to do that.
All right,
They would
So-
stagger days.
Yeah.
Yeah, staggered
Right.
days, 7 to 7.
Our shifts are
Times
6 to
you choose
6.
Go there 6 to 6.
Yeah, but the times can be adjusted for
Yeah,
that
for
person,
the parking season part,
depending
yes.
upon the need. Absolutely.
Yep.
okay.
Okay, understood.
I'd like to second the motion.
Do I have any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Moving on, new business. 2021, 2022 budget workshop planning session for town projects. Tara Drop, Finance Director, will provide counsel. Is she here or she's not here?
Mayor, if I could ask for
ahead.
you all to do a recess for
Okay.
briefly, just for me to gather all the department
All right.
heads.
Call for a recess, 10 minutes.
Question for Jan. Jan, are you still there?
Yes, she's here. Miss Jan,
Yes,
can you hear?
Can you hear me, Jan?
yes.
I was just curious. I mean, you objected to the police proposal, but you didn't give any, we're not in the meeting part right now. You didn't give any concerns or arguments or anything else like that. What's the downside that you see?
I don't think we need that many more full-time employees.
Oh, okay.
All right, hold on. 2021-2022 budget workshop planning session for the town project. Tara Drop, Finance Director, will provide council with an overview of this year's budget process, followed by council and staff discussions regarding projects the council would like to consider during the upcoming workshop. This direction will allow staff to obtain quotes for projects attached to the comment. Go ahead, Ms. Tara.
Morning.
We're smiling, you just can't tell.
What's that?
We're smiling.
Yeah. So we're trying to simplify a little bit this year. And we have a couple less meetings on today. We're just asking for any of your ideas and any kind of direction that you may have. Projects that you've heard from citizens. We asked for feedback from all citizens of any suggestions that they have. I've gotten a couple. Then I've already met with, Lisa and I have already met with all the department heads as far as any capital or new personnel or anything that they're wanting to propose. And they will have those presentations back to me by the 26th. And then I'm going to give those to you on March 1st. So that at our March 16th meeting, when they present, you'll all already have any questions that you have or any research that you want done prior to meeting with the department heads. So it can be a really productive meeting that we have that day. And then once we have a little bit of direction from that, we will before the, like a week or two before the April 8th meeting, at least a week before the April 8th meeting, I'll have sort of a very loose draft budget. Usually in March, I start to get projections for revenues. So I have an idea of where it's so uncertain. They're not sure what the effects are from last year, and everything's very much up in the air for projections. But I'm hoping that all of that will be more narrowed down by that time. And then, so on April 8th and April 20th, we'll go through a more comprehensive overview of the entire budget, and then have a draft budget to you by May 3rd. So we're just kind of make everything more productive, give you things more ahead of time so that you can review them on your own outside of here. And we're not just trying to give you the information all at one time. So you can kind of like really look into it. But that's pretty much the overview of how we're going to do it this year. And today is more of just seeing what any feedback that you've had or any ideas that you guys have.
Councilman Corbett, have you had anything that you need to be brought?
I was going to be fair and let everybody else get shot first. then I'll be glad to. Or I'll be
Let's go
glad
ahead
to
and start with you.
Okay.
Let's go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I've got 5 specific suggestions. Several of them have 4 or 5 points in them. The first is I think it's time for us to actually put together a full capital improvement plan, 5 to 10 year type of thing. We already have parts of it. We've got the stormwater, fire department, police department with their vehicles and personnel and that stuff. I think DPW, their equipment is also sort of on a roughly timeline. That should be in there. But in addition, perhaps one thing, and I'm not sure exactly how to get there, is a comprehensive look at all of our beach walkways and that. And so do we have a timeline, a program that we can put out there so that we're budgeting to
I can tell you with that one, that is one thing that Lisa and I and Dustin have talked about, and one of the things that we'll be presenting to you.
I may have heard that somewhere. I'm not sure. That's along the same line is the same type of thing, looking at our town roads and the upgrades. The monies that we get from the state seem to be diminishing, and with the decrease in gasoline taxes that we've had this past year, they will continue. So the same thing, but the main type of thing is that's something we know we're going to have stuff to do every year, and it's going to be repairs that need to be programmed over our inventory for a life cycle. We had to add that in. Probably, and this kind of verges on the stormwater, but is a program to maintain the town ponds and lake that we have. You know, that keep it clear, keep them access, whatever it is to do to make sure that they remain healthy. And then sort of tied into this, the white beach access monuments that we have, some of them are falling apart. And so we're probably going to need to replace some of those. We have a group, Sunset Vision, that is on tap to work with DPW to repaint them. But there's some of these access way monuments that are in bad shape that will need to be replaced. And we may consider, do we want to replace all of them? Is there something better to do that? I put all of that under like a capital improvement plan. So we have a comprehensive look at the whole thing of the big stuff that we have. Actually, probably consider in there also if we have additional town hall upgrades and modernization. But again, that should be part of a comprehensive plan. Sort of second category is actions to take in the Sunset Beach Town Park. One, and I really don't know what the situation is, but when we built the park, we had a lot of trees that were sick and needed repair, needed to be replaced in that. I think we should have a tree doctor come in and inspect the things. If we have trees that need to be removed, if we have trees that need to be trimmed, whatever type of things we need to do to keep the health of the trees in the park going good. I think it's time to look at an irrigation system. This time of the year when we have the ryegrass coming up looking nice and green, the park really looks great. But once the weather starts to warm up, it's clear that the grasses and some of the shrubs and stuff like that could use some irrigation. So I'm not sure what that would look like, but start to look at that. We did a living shoreline project 2 or 3 years ago. We're still getting erosion along the edge of the park, and we have materials that are left over. Consider doing an expansion of the living shoreline project. We might look at what we need to do with the gazebo. Among other things, when we built the gazebo, we didn't put electricity in. I think, is that correct? Yeah.
In the park or at the beach?
In the park. These are like park activities. Look at.
And it's a picnic shelter. It's not a gazebo that's in the park.
Oh, excuse me.
That was a point of contention several years ago.
Yeah, I think it was. Anyway, I mean, looking at that. Another topic is we have a number of banners that we put on the light poles along our streets that are not privately owned, I guess. Maybe add some more. We took down the holiday banners. We don't have any banners up there. I don't know whether it's this week or just, do we need an additional investment so we can keep banners up to kind of advertise what we have in the town and to look nice and bright? I would like to see the ERC take a good look at the climate mitigation plan, which is kind of an overview that they operate under, and look at specifically things that can be done over the next 5 to 10 years, sort of like a capital improvement plan, but things that we should be doing as we're programming out for climate change and impacts on our community. And then the last item I have is to take a look again. We've talked about a number of years doing a salary study and never got very far. But I'll just change it to take a look and come up with recommendations for salary adjustments. Some of the positions have significantly changed since we had the last adjustment of the salary ranges, I think, back in around 2018 or so. So look at that, look at merit pages for the year, pay raises for the year, and then look at the other contentious issue of holiday bonuses. And so find out what staff recommendations are for that. That's enough for right now. Anybody else?
Mr. Nern, do you have anything?
Yeah, I have several things. John mentioned salary study. We had a council person was supposed to do one, never did it. But I think Lisa has checked with our neighboring towns, looking at their salary ranges. Is that correct?
That is correct. Ocean Isle Beach has completed one last year, and Tara and I and Ken and the department heads are working on something to bring you all concerning the salary study.
It was actually a MAP study that the League of Municipalities MAPS group is a group that does salary studies, and the league actually endorses them or suggests them, recommends them, and that's who did Ocean Isles. So that's what I've been looking at as I go through and seeing what the positions are and salaries and stuff like that. So they started their study March of 2020 and completed it July of 2020. So it's pretty recent.
And they included all the Brunswick County municipalities in that study.
Good. Be interesting to see that. You know, we're short positions. Public Works right now is in bad shape as far as the number of employees that can handle full duties. Same with stormwater. We've got to hire people for those positions. And I think to get decent people and to keep decent people, we need competitive salaries. It's not just public works, it's our police or fire. You know, it's our administrative staff. We have to take a really close look at that and do something about it, because it gets just put off year after year after year. One thing that bothers me, and I know it's a state issue and it's a small thing, but when you go over the bridge and you look to the right, a lot of those stanchions are down. It's weedy, there's trash there. Although it says it's emergency parking only, people are parked there almost all the time. It doesn't say welcome to beautiful Sunset Beach. It says welcome to tacky Sunset Beach. And I don't think that's what we want to project. So I don't know whether we go ahead and have our public works clean that type of thing up, or if we can put any pressure on the state. I mean, they're going to do what they want to do.
Matt and Dustin are working with the state on that specific area right now.
Oh, good. It's like you read my mind. That's scary for you. And, you know, keep our vehicles up to date. John's suggestion for capital improvement programs for every area. To me, those are the most important things.
Matt is
That's all I
also
have.
working with our engineers to update the stormwater plan as well. That will be brought to you also.
You got anything
I'm
else,
done.
Mr. Nern? You good?
So I think
Councilwoman Harris, you have any
The only-
budget session?
I-
Okay.
I just have one thing. I would like to see the town look at some method of preserving open space. And I need to talk with probably with Tara more about that, but I would like to see some monies dedicated to that.
Anything else, ma'am?
That's it.
Okay, Councilman Phillips?
I think a lot of what Mr. Nerner's mentioned are just general budgetary considerations that we'll all have to deal with, but I don't have anything out of the ordinary to add that for directive at this time.
What was that? I'm sorry.
I don't have anything
Oh,
out of
you
the
Nothing
ordinary
out of
to add.
ordinary. Mr. Borman?
I have a couple of things. Just a question first about walkways, beach walkways. Not sure what the history is here, but the 13th Street, there's no walkways there. Is there a reason why we can't have a walkway there, or? There's no
There's no
easement there, so
easement.
we can't have a walkway there. Okay, so that answers that question. I have a concern about the dunes themselves. I'm not sure how to counteract some of the activity that we see there, especially in the summertime. A lot of people going up on the dunes. Not sure if it's an education program, signage, or something there to inform people that the dunes are critically important to the protection of the island, and they need to treat them more gently, so to speak. So that's something that I'd see if there was some suggestions on how to do that. Like I say, it may be signage, it may be something else. We've talked about dredging here, and one of the things that's always been brought up, and we really don't have a plan as far as I know, the streets that are not paved. When we get rains, and we've had the experiment on one road there, I think it's 11th Street or 10th Street.
10th and 12th.
12th has been done? Oh, that's right, 12th is paved.
Yeah.
That's right. So I'm not sure if we need to put in there for all the roads that at least border the waterways to look at what we'd have to do to put some kind of surface there. I think your experiment so far is looking pretty good to me when I see the runoff from the heavy rains. Those streets there don't seem to be really contributing like the other ones are. So I think that's something that we should consider putting in for the rest of the roadways there, at least the ones that have impact on the waterways. I'm not sure if we've talked about the zoning and things here earlier today, and it's certainly a long-term project to be considering how we want to look at the zoning that we have and how we ensure that what we want as a town is consistent with what we allow in our ordinances and our zoning. So I think that's something that you're likely already considering, but something that I'd like to see in there as well. That was pretty much it for me. I mean, the rest of the things that I would have brought up have already been spoken to.
And we will be asking you for additional funding for the Cape Fear Council of Governments to assist with any UDO rewrites, amendments, Band-Aids, in addition to the land use plan.
Good.
We do propose that.
Okay. That was it. Thank you.
All right. Anybody got anything else?
Well, I just want to say, I think a lot of our citizens, they don't realize what good services the town provides, and how dedicated to the town that our employees are, filling in, helping out with other departments, and just well, this is such a great place to live, and it just gets better every year, and whatever we can do to hire good employees and retain those employees is important to all of us. Whether, being on the council has really opened my eyes, but I've said this for years. People don't realize how good they have it. And most people don't say anything until they have a complaint. But I just urge everybody to take a look and see what is provided for your tax dollars. And at least be glad you're living here.
Anything else?
We also have
ahead,
the
Liz.
budget suggestion form that we would request any and all to fill out that form and submit it to Tara. The deadline is April 18th to get those suggestions in. And the suggestion form is on the website in the finance department page.
We have had a couple. We've had the bathroom trailer, which we were already working on that, and then another one was for the website, for us to look at the website, reconfiguring it.
Thank you, ma'am.
And thank you.
Thank you, Tara.
All right, moving on. Our disposition of directives for our March 1st, 2021 meeting. Is there anything that needs to be added or taken off? There ain't nothing. If not, any council have anything else? If not, we'll go to our public comments. I'll look. I didn't know you get up, check it. Yeah, see if anybody's back there.
Do you want to make a public comment? All right, we have one.
Okay,
Name and address, please.
name and address. That microphone, wait a minute.
Hold on.
Good afternoon. My name is Steve Strini, 7645 High Market Street. And my thoughts today are with our friends and neighbors who are going through a very terrible time. On the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency website, a preliminary application has been filed for low-income housing tax credits. The application is from Stephanie Norris of Terror Development, LLC, Wilmington, North Carolina, for 84 units of Phase 2 Artesa Village Apartments. The location listed is the 7840 block of High Market Street. Officially, there is no address for 7840 High Market Street, but logically it would be the 7-acre parcel owned by Carolina Dreams Golf, which is located adjacent and west of the 72-unit Artesa Village Apartments. My purpose here today is to make you aware of another apartment complex planning to come to Sunset Beach. The site sign across the street from the town hall had prompted my investigation. Thank you, guys and ladies.
Thank you, sir. There's no one else? Nothing else? Do I have a motion that we adjourn?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr.